Arizona's boost in school funding has made its way into classrooms across the state, among them the Sunnyside Unified School District on Tucson's southern edge. It's one of the largest in Arizona with a high minority population where more than 80% of the students are on free and reduced lunch. Though none of that should define Sunnyside's path toward progress, says the district's leader, who's determined to motivate and inspire.
All right, I got to hear this. Can I squeeze in? Can we squeeze in?
Tucked inside Sunnyside High School, you'll find a recording studio, teenagers jamming out, and the guy playing the guitar wearing a suit and tie happens to be Superintendent Steve Holmes. An educator for more than 20 years, Sunnyside alumni, musician, and so much more.
That's good. Did you write it or?
Yeah, I wrote it.
Outside of managing an $80 million budget, supervising more than 2,000 people, and influencing the education of 16,000 students, Holmes wants this community to know he's its #1 advocate.
Who read the most?
I did it. I didn't.
When you look at their little faces, do you ever see yourself here?
I do. You know, it's weird because some of these buildings I actually attended, and this was a freshman campus when I was attending school here, and so I do see a lot of myself in a lot of the students.
Born and raised in South Tucson, raised by a single mom and his grandparents, Holmes went on to graduate from the U of A and then Harvard.
You ready? Want to put you in the game? Put you in the game?
We caught up with Superintendent Holmes before winter break between Sunnyside High School and Sierra 2 through 8 school.
Into the kitchen behind her.
Good job, Vicky. Your reading has improved.
Sunnyside schools continue to struggle. According to the Arizona State Board of Education, the latest preliminary letter grades show the district's high schools earned C's, the middle schools received D's, and the majority of elementary schools earned B's and C's.
It's still disappointing, right? Because I walk the classroom, I go in, look at our teachers. There's great things happening, but sometimes we're missing the mark in what the state expects in that assessment and what may be going on in the classroom. So trying to align those efforts a little better, I think is going to pay some dividends in the end.
8-4.
But Holmes is careful to point out that last year the district and throughout Pima County had the highest, greatest academic gains in math.
I refuse to believe that our kids can't perform at a better rate. Being a former alumni, I think they take that more personally.
So personally, he spends time in the classrooms, talking with students and teachers.
2 newcomers.
2 newcomers, brand new to the country. Wonderful.
Listening to what they think will work, that meant changing the curriculum and showing the teachers and staff he's in their corner. How important is it that the teacher in front of those students recognizes that these kids have things at home that come into the classroom and maybe affect their performance?
Well, I think it's critical. I think being cognizant of some of those are kind of our lifetime work. You know, how do you understand the culture in which you serve, the community in which you serve? We do a lot of work with Luis Simone's Funds of Knowledge work so that we're not just seeing the potential deficits that may be perceived, but what are the assets that our kids bring.
Then there's funding a district this size in a state that continues to rank at the bottom of per pupil funding and teacher pay. The average teacher salary at Sunnyside is about $42,000. There are 900 teachers, 41 of them are not certified, and more than half are in a certification program. Last year, the state pumped $3.3 million into the district with Proposition 123 funds.
In some cases, in many cases, the teachers who had been sitting in our district and loyal to our community, who had been frozen for 6 years, were now able to be moved up 6 steps into an appropriate step with the salary range that was appropriate to what the study really found. Still not enough, quite frankly, but it's comparable to what other districts are paying. But we saw it allowed some teachers got up to a $10,000 raise as a result of Prop 123. So it was a great start.
Over the last several years, taxpayers have voted down multiple budget overrides, with the latest failing in November. Then the state's minimum wage increased, placing some longtime employees at the same rate as new employees. You've been on the job for 3 years. You replaced a somewhat controversial leader in the past. Many suspect that's why the budget override did not pass recently. Where are you in convincing the community that this district is headed in a new direction?
That's a great question. You know, I see about 3 issues that were associated. One is still the trust and the lack thereof potentially from previous administration that we continue to work on. The other factor, however, still remains that we have people on fixed incomes. We have a lot of, we have an aging population, and so they may have affinity to our school and love what we do, but they don't see that necessarily translating into something they can afford to. And that was some candid conversations I was able to have with the community. So that was another factor that came into play. And I think the third one, there's still a lot of anti-tax rhetoric out there, along with a lot of bills that were on the ballot. And so it does tend to have a tendency to confuse voters, quite frankly. So we got some work to do. You are very capable. You're brilliant.
More than academics.
I've seen you.
It's about nurturing young minds. Celebrating success. The district's 2 high schools have increased graduation rates. More than 80% of the students earn diplomas.
Are you going to put another code here, or are you just going to keep it blank?
Holmes is proud, but wants them going to college and staying there so they too can make a difference.
Are you hopeful that you can inspire some of these kids to do something different than what they think they may be capable of?
I hope so. I mean, I'm just one of many success stories and from our Sunnyside community. I mean, we have congressmen, we have judges, we have so many people, businessmen in our community. I don't think we do a good enough job of telling our story or bringing those alumni back. There's a certain connection, unique connection you make when you grew up in this community that I'm hoping to inspire.